All right, a very eventful week one we just had in the ELF, and now we're on to week two. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about some quick observations of week one, some of the most recent signings, and we're going to focus on week two. However, I leave you with this, and just think about this and follow me along the road when I mention this statement. And this could be overreaction, or we could look a couple weeks down the road, and this could be a factual statement. Is it possible we only get one team out of the West to make the playoffs?
We doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work and gotta toss them out. I'm really biting, they just barking out. I'm really riding, they just parking now. His street, what to talk about. See the big H when I'm walking out. Yeah.
Man, what an eventful week one we just had. From the Munich game to getting 6,000 plus fans to the atmospheres, the new stadiums, the play, the new teams. It was definitely an exciting week one, I would definitely say. So welcome to Base Coverage, everyone. I'm your host, Jamal Clay, and Base Coverage is presented to you by, of course, our partners over at Knoah Teamwear. One quick side note, I'm wearing my Denver Nuggets hat. I'm a Denver Nuggets fan. We are officially up 2-1 heading into tonight's game against the Miami Heat. Shout out to Connor Miller, who I believe is a Heat fan. And I hate to say this, but we might not be coming back to Miami. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. A couple things I want to talk to you guys about. And of course, per usual, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, share with a friend. I love interacting with you guys as we continue this journey together in the ELF. All right. I want to talk about some quick reactions or observations of what I saw week one. I'm not going to break down every game. I got some thoughts, but I'm not going to break down, every game in terms of, what I saw. And then I want to get into a couple big signings this week that are going to have an impact on two major teams. And then we're on to week two. We're on the week two, and we welcome three teams that haven't played week one in week two. We welcome, the Milan Seamen who play in the Barcelona Dragons. We welcome the Vienna Vikings who are playing the Berlin Thunder, and then of course we welcome the Stuttgart Surge who are heading over to Paris for the Paris home opener, which is going to be a great game to watch too. So we're going to dive into all that, but of course we're going to hear from our partners over at Knoah Teamwear. Welcome back, everyone. And I got my notepad here. I got some notes in terms of some things that I saw with week one. And right now, we're going to go over some quick hits in terms of my observations for week one. So some of the things that I saw that took place. One, it was definitely a week one. It was a lot of sloppy play, a lot of people off the slow starts. You could tell the chemistry isn't fully there in terms of, guys playing with each other. And we saw that. All right, so no sense to overreact too much. We're going to learn more about these teams probably after the first month. Remember, a lot of these teams don't even play preseason games. So we'll have a better idea in terms of who these teams are probably after the first month, and they got a couple games out their belt. But it was definitely a week one. An exciting week one, though. 6,000 fans in Munich for their home opener. Russell get proving everyone wrong. I'm ready for all the smoke just thrown my way because, listen, I doubted you guys, and I deserve everything coming my way. A lot of the new teams. It was a rough week for the new teams. I believe only one team won. That was Paris. But it was good to see some new talent, some new stars. One of the things that definitely stuck out, and the strength of the league this year is defensive line is definitely a huge strength in the league this year. There are a ton of good defensive linemen this year. And of course, we knew this going into the league, the wide receivers. Not just the American wide receivers, the domestic wide receivers as well. Everybody balled out. All the playmakers showed out. Jarvis McClam, obviously player of the week. But people forget, Philip Hunt had 3 touchdowns, right, in that game against the Raiders. Christian Shaw did a good job of spreading the rock around. Who is number 14 from Barcelona, Landstrom? This dude just mossing people all over the field against my poor Helvetic guards. It was a rough one for the guards, but shout out to this dude, and I'm excited to learn more about him. But he balled, and that was a name I had no idea, who he was going into the season. And I do have to give credit to the GM in Barcelona, Bart. I think he does a good job at recruiting talent and getting guys to Barcelona. Now, what happens after that, I don't know, but he found another diamond in the rough, and this is going to be a star we're going to learn about. You know, the guys that played for the Crocodiles last year, you know, obviously McClam and Jackson. Jackson, you know, balled out, and he proved that, you know, he could score at any point on the field. And then you got Jarvis McClam, who does the same things: throwing a touchdown, receiving a touchdown, returning a kick for a touchdown. You know, there were a lot of good things and a lot of good playmakers throughout, week one. And we're excited to see how they could top that going into week two. So we'll see what happens. And then I told you earlier, we're not going to overreact to week one, but if I had an overreaction or a statement, let me see what you guys think about this and comment below because I want to interact with you guys. New playoff format, more teams, you know, more exciting matchups to come. But is it possible we only get one team out of the West? A Western Conference with the Rhine Fire, the Galaxy, the Paris Musketeers, Cologne, Hamburg. Is it possible only one team out the West makes the playoffs and then y'all just beat each other, potentially out of a second playoff spot? I could see it happening. Seeing how some of these teams played, again, it's only week one, but there's a potential. And, you got teams like Hamburg that not only they play Russell, but you still got to play Berlin too. And Berlin is a different team, a completely different team, a team that's gotten better each year in the ELF. You got Cologne, who has a defense. You got the Cologne Centurions, who actually have a defense. Now, if they could score a little bit more points and the receivers could catch a little bit more balls, they might be a different team. But the West is brutal. The West is brutal. So we'll see what happens there. But those are some quick observations in terms of what I saw week one. One more thing. Special teams. Not a good look, special teams. Special teams lost some teams' games. Special teams, definitely need some improvement. And again, it's only week one, but special teams is something that stuck out in terms of need some improvement from all teams around the league in week one. So next, man, some two big signings and some two big stars are coming back into the ELF. First, we're going to start with the Paris Musketeers, bringing in O-lineman Keanu Ebanks.
Tell them to bring me my money. Yeah.
This was a first team ELF All-Star in year one for the Hamburg Sea Devils. Went to Canada, played for the Calgary Stampeders. Recent release. Year two was signed for Russell and then went to the CFL, and now he's back. And he's back with Paris. And I can't think of a quarterback who is happier right now than Zach Edwards to have a guy like him protecting his blind side, especially after a week they just had with the Cologne Centurions. So we'll see in terms of the impact he's going to have. And basically what Paris basically did is they basically replaced Keanu Ebanks. They basically replaced Fabian Katz for Keanu Ebanks. That's all they really did. All right. And it's a good replacement in terms of what they need, and more someone on the outside versus the interior lineman. But we'll see how it plays out. And shout out to Ebanks. The next signing, man, I can't be more happier for a guy who deserves an opportunity than Akila Ishit.
Tell them to bring me my money. Yeah.
Defensive back last year for the Istanbul Rams, obviously a team that is no longer participating in the ELF, but this guy deserves an opportunity to play in this league. Again, defense rookie of the year last year. He was a bright spot in that Rams defense led by Zachary Blair. This guy deserves an opportunity, and he got one. And he signed it with the Prague Lions. And shout out to the Prague Lions for making this official, bringing him into the league. He definitely deserves to be on this stage, and he earned his spot similar to like Alejandro Fernandez, playing with Barcelona, and now he went to go get paid for the Rhine Fire. Same with Akila Ishik, and I'm happy for this guy. Played for the Rams, and now he earned a chance to play again in the biggest league in Europe for the Prague Lions, and we'll see how that pans out. So shout out to those two guys who were some big signings this week. All right, let's get into our pick segment, and here we go. Some breaking news. Our pick segment is brought to you by First Down Magazine, a digital media digital media company covering all leagues in Europe, and you can find them on their Instagram account tagged right here on the bottom. So we're working with First Down Magazine. We're competing with picks all season long, and we're gonna go over each game one by one. First game we got on the slate, we got the Frankfurt Galaxy traveling to the Anthroners. Frankfurt got embarrassed, and there's no other way around it. I think their defense is still a good defense, and they're still a good team. But is that could be more of a testament to who the Ryan Fire are than what Frankfurt showed last week. Another team that got embarrassed after playing there are the Anthroners. Now, that was a wake-up call for the Anthroners last week versus Berlin. However, regardless of what the score says, they were able to move the ball a little bit up against that Thunder defense last week, and the Thunder offense didn't really have as explosive numbers as what you expect. Now they're going against the Frankfurt Galaxy. I don't think it's going to fare well against the Anthroners. I think the Galaxy are out to, definitely make a statement in this game. I think from what I want to see from the Anthroners is more consistent play, especially at the quarterback position, but all around as a team, and I think we'll get that. I think some of those imports who I know over there, Benjamin Plouffe, Jay Griffin, Elijah Moody. I think those guys will get things rolling a little bit. But unfortunately, I'm going to pick the Frankfurt Galaxy to win this game. Next game, we got the Cologne Centurions versus the Prague Lions. I would say two teams I learned a lot about last week. Cologne Centurions, they are not the typical year one, year two Cologne Centurions. This team actually is more balanced on offense, and they actually have a good defense, obviously led by Zachary Blair. But you also have, a pair of defensive backs back there in terms of but you also have a pair of defensive backs by there, led by Charles Woolen, led by Dejon Owens, that are bringing a different type of mentality to that defense, and it showed. And they played Paris pretty well, and I'm interested to see how they're going to fare against this Prague offense. This Prague offense, primarily a spread offense, is going to make you play the whole width of the field. And I like it because it's a different offense than what we typically see in the ELF. It's more of, that up-tempo, fast offense led by a mobile quarterback in Shazon Mumphrey. So we'll see how they compare, and they can put up points against this Prague defense, who was pretty legit. And obviously they made a pretty good signing in signing Attila Ishik. They also got James Brooke on that defensive line, who was pretty hard to handle. And Prague should have beat the Leipzig Kings if it wasn't for special teams, and they let one get away. But also, I want to see them score more points on offense. I think this is the week they kind of get back on track. So it's really is Prague gonna make the necessary adjustments, get back on track, and score the points needed to win, or for Cologne, was it just a week one good game against Paris, and what happens week two? We don't know. I'm picking Prague to win this game. I think ultimately they're going to be able to win this game at home. I don't think they want to go down 2 games at home. I'll give them the home advantage in this game. I think they're going to find a way to get this done. So I'm picking the Prague Lions to beat the Cologne Centurions. Next game we got the Stuttgart Surge. Welcome to the game, Stuttgart. The Stuttgart Surge traveling to Paris to play the Musketeers in the home opener. I'm interested in the number we're going to get in the home opener against Paris. Obviously, it's the most anticipated team that everyone's been waiting for. So how did they fare out? Also, I'm curious, what's Zach Edwards' outfit going to look like? I'm sure he's got something special heading into this matchup. But ultimately, two teams that a lot of people have been waiting to see. Obviously, new regime in the Stuttgart Surge under Jordan Newman, Riley Hennessy. They have a championship pedigree that they're bringing to an organization who's been one of the worst organizations in the league in the young ELF history. So how they got to turn it around? Well, you bring back a guy like Louis Guy, who was there year one, offensive rookie of the year. You bring in a Goran Zek, and Jordan Newman did a good job, and not only just bringing in Swedish all players, but bringing in players that he's coached and guys that are familiar with his system and know it. So it's not going to be as much of a learning curve. So we'll see in terms of who this Stuttgart Surge team is. And now they got, with the first round bye, they kind of got film on Paris to see who they are. And then for Paris, was week one just a fluke in terms of how you started? Was the second half of that Cologne game, was that, the jump start needed to get this thing rolling, for the Paris Musketeers? This is going to be a great game, a great matchup. Shout out to commentator James Poovey, who I interviewed earlier this offseason, who's going to be calling this game. I like the Surge to pull off the upset in Paris on their home opener and spoil the fun for the Musketeers. So I'm picking the Stuttgart Surge to win this game. Here we go. Barcelona traveling to Milan. All right. Let me say this respectfully. Barcelona, great win last week. I need to see more. All right. I need to see more in terms of, can you beat Milan at home? And if anybody who knows anything about the Milan Seamen, when they play at home, they don't lose, right? And again, they had the week one bye, so they're coming in with some film and prep. But they're going to have their hands full because, and I've said this before, I know a lot of people are on their revenge tour, but I said Barcelona is not as bad as people think they are. I don't think they're going to be as bad as people think they're going to be.
No. Yeah. Some people have them sort of.
All right. Obviously, you played the guards, and we saw how that game planned out. There were some mistakes in terms of that Barcelona made in that game where they kept it closer than what they should have in the beginning. But ultimately, they pulled that through. But if you could pull off this win in Milan against Luke Zaraka, a quarterback who's been there for 5 years, Gene Constant, who's out to prove last year was a fluke, and then you sign a couple guys on the defensive side. If they could go into Milan and pull out a win, that'll really be a true statement for the Barcelona Dragons. I think this is going to be a game, potentially high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. I'm excited that it's in Milan and it's a conference game. So we'll see what the Dragons could do. I'm rocking with Milan Seamen. I like their team. I like their makeup. I think this is a dark horse team that could potentially make some noise. And they got the week one bye. And I think Gene Constant is. I think if anybody's out on a revenge tour, I know he won't say it, but if anyone's out on a revenge tour, I think Gene Constant is the dude that wants to be known. Like, listen, like I'm still him. All right, I'm still that guy from year one, all-time leading receiver in the ELF. I'm still that dude. So we'll see how it plans out. But I'm gonna pick the Milan Seamen. Again, no disrespect to Barcelona. I need to see more. If you can pull this off, all right. Then I got some apologies coming your way. But next we got Ryan Fire traveled to Hamburg. Listen, what was that quote that coach said about when the Arizona coach said?
Or who we thought they were. That's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
Yeah, the Ryan Fire are exactly who we thought they were. I thought Frankfurt would be a much better matchup in terms of defensively. But I mean, credit to Ryan, credit to Jadrian, credit to Coach Weidinger. They coach circles around the Frankfurt Galaxy. I mean, how many times is Anthony Mafungo going to be open? He's probably still open, waiting for the ball to drop in his hands down in Dusseldorf. The Rhein Fire are legit, and Hamburg's going to have their hands full. Hamburg, it's a young team. It's not the same Hamburg team, and it's not the same team defensively that we're accustomed to seeing. I do like their quarterback, Preston Hare. I do think they need more. We need more in terms of what they're going to bring to the table defensively, because last week versus the Panthers, I mean Tony Tate is still running through the season. Hamburg, running people off the screen at some points. All right, so they're gonna have to do better defensively in terms of what they're gonna do there, and they got their hands full because not only are you covering, it's not just one guy you got to worry about. You got to worry about that three-headed monster with Anthony Mafungu, Nathaniel Robitaille, and Harlan Kofi. And I like the trajectory that Jadrian is on right now in terms of how he finished the season last year and how he's playing this year. So we'll see what happens. But I'm going with the Ride Fire in this game. I think not only do they have the players, but they're going to have the coaching experience heading into this game in terms of what they bring to the table. And listen, one of the matchups that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, at least from a coaching perspective, is Coach Weininger versus the OC for the Rhein-Fire versus Coach Kendra Ellison, the DC for the Hamburg Sea Devils. So we'll see what happens. If Hamburg can pull this off, then we're going to be in business, and it's going to be a show in the West. But I think the Rhein-Fire pulled this off. All right, next thing we got the Rustloff Panthers versus the Leipzig Kings. Leipzig coming off a very emotional, a very fun win in Prague, winning on that kick return to the crib. I still got concerns about Leipzig. Don't get me wrong; they have a great running back in Steve McShane. They have a great duo in Keontae Allen, but I'm still worried in terms of who their guys are on the outside, and in terms of receivers and who's going to be their playmakers. Because a lot of times what they're going to see heading into this game is people just going to start stacking the box, and we'll see if they're going to force Keontae Allen to actually beat them either in the box or throwing the ball. I think Rustloff is the team that's going to do that from the jump. Solomon Brown played very well last week versus the Hamburg Sea Devils, and that team as a whole. And one thing that I was impressed by, not just the quarterback, not just the quarterback play, not just the receiver play. I was impressed with their offensive line. One of the biggest questions last year for the Panthers was their offensive line. They lost, obviously, Banks to the CFL. They had a lot of injuries. So how is that offensive line going to hold up? And they held up well versus a Sea Devils defensive line. So I was very impressed with the Rustloff Panthers. Again, I'm ready for all the smoke coming my way. You guys deserve, that win. You earned that win, and you balled out. All right, and this guy, Turbo Tate.
Run that back, Turbo.
You can. Turbo Tate is is probably the fastest guy in the league. I know I said that last week with Jay Griffin, but actually watching the film and running the back, I mean, put it in perspective. Man had 4 catches and 3 touchdowns, and he's running people off the screen. That's almost that's basically disrespectful, right? So we'll see what happens. I'm pretty sure Leipzig, they're gonna have a safety over top. I don't know if they'll play 2-man or anything, but AJ Wentland, those guys always have a good defensive game plan. Excited to see what Will James could do at the safety spot. They did lose their DB Henrique this past weekend. He's out for the season, unfortunately, so that was a big hit. But we'll see what Leipzig could do. I'm picking the Rustloff Panthers. I think this team. I'm not just buying into the hype of week one. I think this is a well-coached team, a much better coach team than last year. I think Dave Likens, the defensive coordinator, was second year with those guys, has those guys buying in. I think this team is, legitimately a team that could possibly make some noise. And, we'll see what happens. But I'm going to rock with the Panthers this week. All right. Oh, this one hurts. The Raiders go to Switzerland for the home opener and play the Helvetic Guards. This is a rough matchup for my Guards. And not just because of what the Raiders did, but they don't match up well with the Raiders. The Raiders have too many guys that can score from too many different places. All right. Not just a play of the week in Jarvis McClam, but you got Philip Hahn, again, who had 3 touchdowns. You got Adrian Plaskemmer, who had a touchdown. You got Marco Schneider, who had a touchdown. And Sandro didn't even play last week, right? And their offensive line is solid, which, is almost going to equal out the strength of the Guards, which is their defensive line. And then the Guards, what I need to see from the Guards is I need a couple things. I need them to be more than just a two-man game on offense in terms of, quick game to Anton July and then hoping Silas and Sita makes a big play. I need them to be more than that, right? You got the running backs, you got the tight end, pound the rock, more play action, some rollouts. They're going to have to control the game on offense and almost play keep away from the Raiders, so to say. But this is not a good matchup in terms of offensively and defensively for my Guards. I was high on the Raiders coming in, and they just solidified that last week against the Munich Ravens. As you can see, the Ravens, first of all, the Munich Ravens offense is going to confuse a lot of people because it's a West Coast offense. It's similar to the San Francisco 49ers with all those shift and motions and rollouts. But they were able to make the adjustments in the second half, and Munich only Munich scored 31 in the first half. Second half, they only scored 7. So that shows you in terms of the coaching and the players that the Raiders got. Raiders are going to win this game. All right. And I saved the best for last. The game of the week. The First Down Magazine base coverage Athletes Forum game of the week. We have the champs.
The champ is here. Ladies and gentlemen, the heavyweight champion of the world has arrived. The champ is here. The champ is here.
Traveling to the capital, right? We got the Vienna Vikings playing the Berlin Thunder. This is going to be, I talked earlier about, hey, Barcelona, I need to see more. Berlin, great performance. I need to see more. I'm not buying their performance versus the Enthroners. However, what I would say is that the guys, they have the right guys in place. They have the talent, but I want to see more offensive production. Defensively, they showed out, but defensively, they also were really even challenged last week. So they're going to get a challenge, this week versus the Vienna Vikings in their home opener. And I tell you what, secret's out. This Vikings team, not only are they the champs and they're returning, but they're returning back healthier and better and more talented than they were last year, right? The champs are here to make a statement, right? And this is going to be a good game for the champs too. I'm not saying this is, going to be some rollover for the Thunder, but if the Thunder are a team who since year one have literally gotten better, right? The arrow is pointing up for the Thunder every year in the ELF. In year 3, this is their best team they've had. But again, I need to see more production. It's at home. And if you want to make a statement, not only to your conference, but to the ELF, that this is your year, you got to beat the champs at home. You have to beat the champs at home. Now, will they get it done? I don't think so. I'm rocking with the Vienna Vikings to win this game. I think Chris Hilbig is an upgrade from Jackson last year. Again, I think this team is better. I think this team is healthier. I think they got more talent. And I'm excited to watch this game. And this is the First Down Magazine and Athletes Forum game of the week. And I'm picking the Vienna Vikings to win this game. So week 2. Hey, we're gonna learn a lot more about some teams and some new teams we're adding to the mix, but week 2 is here.
Nobody, hard work, they don't know about it. Hard work, they don't know about it. Hard work, they don't know about it. Animal.